I've traveled to 65 countries, and nearly half of them have been in Europe. I've also spent the last 20 years helping people move to Europe. So when people ask me whether or not they should move to Europe, I don't give them the sugar-coated Instagram version. I give them the real one. Some things are genuinely better than life in the US, while other things might frustrate you or confuse you. So here are the pros and cons that I've experienced as an American living in Europe. Let's get into it. Let's start with the pros, and I want to begin with the one thing that almost all of my relocation clients mention to me: the slower pace of life. When you walk outside in most of Europe, everything is slower. People aren't rushing, and because they aren't rushing, they're more open, easier to talk to, and more willing to have a real conversation with you. This is the part that is really hard to put into words until you felt it. But for me, it feels like as soon as my plane touches down in a European country, my nervous system also feels like it slows down. It's like something in the air and the environment just really permeates every aspect of the culture. And as human beings, we are a product of our environments, and being in that environment is really helpful for being able to experience that slower pace of life yourself. But the feeling is real, and for a lot of people, it's the whole reason they decide to stay. Along with the next pro that a lot of people don't expect to care about this much. It's the food. The food is simply better. And not in some kind of fancy 5 Michelin stars kind of way, but in just an everyday way. Europe is a place that I will eat plain cherry tomatoes and cucumbers for breakfast because the taste of the produce is so much better than what I'm used to in the United States. It seems like no matter what the ingredients, the food genuinely tastes better. And I think a lot of the reason for this is that you can walk to the market, you can walk to the corner produce shop and buy your food daily rather than going to big box stores like Costco, Walmart, and chain grocery stores for everything. And speaking of walking to get your food, that brings me to the next pro. Transportation might be the most underrated pro on this whole list. In Europe, you can walk almost everywhere, and when you don't want to walk, you have options: a bike, a car, a tram, a train, whatever the local rideshare is. And if you want to leave the country for the weekend, you can hop on a cheap flight and you're somewhere new in a matter of hours. Being able to travel so easily and live without a car is one of the things that I am most looking forward to since moving back to Europe. Next up is healthcare. When you're walking everywhere, you're eating better, and you see people in their 80s and 90s out walking to the grocery store by themselves, you end up realizing that this lifestyle can help you stay healthier and more mobile, and you might not lean on the healthcare system as much as you'd expect. And one of the things that surprises most of my relocation clients is discovering how affordable private healthcare can be. In my experience, it usually runs somewhere from 100 to 250 euro per month, whereas most of us are used to paying $500 to $1,500 a month in the US. For my older clients specifically, knowing that there is good, affordable healthcare accessible in other countries plays a big role in the decision to move abroad. So those are 4 of the top pros that myself and others experience when they move from the US to Europe. And before I get into the cons, I just want to mention that if you're watching this video because you are thinking about moving to Europe someday, then that's exactly what my team and I do. I've been working in relocation for 21 years now, and most of my clients are moving to Europe. So if you'd like some guidance and support during your international move, then go ahead and scan the QR code on screen right now. You can also go to travelingwithkristin.com/relocation and reach out to me and my team. Now, the next thing on this list is something that is honestly a little bit of a pro and a con, so that's why I put it here in the middle. The pro is it's incredibly easy to make friends when you move to Europe, but the con is that those friends that you make might not be from the country that you move to. Now, almost everyone tells me the exact same thing before they move abroad. They don't want to be friends with Americans, they want to make friends with the locals. But becoming friends with the locals will take time. It takes time to integrate into a foreign society and culture. It takes time to learn the language, and it takes time for people to open up to you and trust you. So at the beginning, you might have a lot of acquaintances that are locals, but it can take time until they become true lifelong friends. On the other hand, you'll often have more opportunities to meet other foreigners from all different countries who happen to be living in that country and also feel lonely and want to make friends. So I do recommend being open to becoming friends with other Americans and also expats and immigrants from all different countries, because you all have that one thing in common, that you're living in a foreign country together. Now, the next half of the video, it's gonna get a bit harder because I'm gonna walk you through some of the downsides that I've experienced as an American living in Europe. The first thing that catches people off guard is the bureaucracy, just learning how to do everything from scratch. The bureaucracy isn't equally bad everywhere, and I want to be fair about that. Although certain countries such as Portugal and Italy, Spain and France as well, often do come up a lot in conversation. But once you get through that initial bureaucracy, you can really enjoy that slower, more relaxed pace of life that I talked about at the beginning of this video. But the bureaucracy is real, it is unpredictable, and I've had clients just decide that they didn't want to deal with the bureaucracy of certain countries in Europe and decide to move to another continent instead. But the next point on my list is something that affects almost everyone: housing. And I'll be honest, I am really picky about where I live, so this is something that I've struggled with a lot. I like a quiet place with lots of natural light, no noisy neighbors upstairs or next door, and finding an affordable apartment that really fits what I'm looking for can be hard. On top of that, everything in Europe is smaller than it is in the US. Less storage, fewer closets, there may or may not be a dishwasher or a washer and dryer. None of that is a deal breaker, of course, but compared to what we're used to in the US, it's a real adjustment, and you feel it every day and every week, not just on moving day. And that leads straight to the con that I think is one of the most important ones: loneliness. Your first month abroad is like cement drying. At first, it's moldable. You get to choose how you spend your day, how you design your daily habits, and all of the different things you want to see and do. But if you wait too long, that cement hardens, and that's when we get stuck in a rut, and it's much harder to make changes. So you have a small window to make new changes, like going for a walk in the morning, going to the market, and really designing your new European lifestyle before you default into some of those habits you might have had back in the US, things like spending a lot of times on screens, social media, Netflix, and we all know that that is something that can contribute to feelings of loneliness. This is really important to talk about if you are coupled in a relationship or a marriage, because it can be quite common for one partner in the relationship to want to move abroad more than the other. So it's really important for you guys to get on the same page and not have one person protest being in the country or wanting to kind of keep things the way that they were exactly back at home. And in very severe cases, I have witnessed couples breaking up either before the move or after the move, where they split up and then move to different countries, or one person moves back to the home country because they never wanted to move to begin with. So I don't want to scare you, but I have seen it happen. But I've also been doing this for more than 20 years, so I've seen a lot. This next con is not a huge deal, and it's not something that people typically think about before they move abroad, but it's definitely something that you notice after you get to Europe, and that is the lack of conveniences. So it starts out pretty small, you know, you want to go buy something and you can't figure out exactly where to get it because there aren't as many big box stores. And then sometimes you go to the place that you wanted to go and it's closed for lunch or closed for a holiday or closed for whatever reason. And so a lot of these little things can add up. You know, it sounds simple, but it's a hard transition when you've grown up somewhere like the US or Canada and you're used to getting anything you want within a very small radius, or anything you want delivered, sometimes in a matter of minutes, hours, or the next day. In Spain, shops can close in the afternoon and reopen later, and you might not get a dinner reservation until 9 at night. So it's definitely something to adapt to, and it's something that I'm still struggling with 26 years after visiting Europe for the first time. And the next thing is also something that I still struggle with, and it's the weather. The weather really takes getting used to, especially if you're not coming from somewhere cold and rainy, because a lot of the year can be exactly that. It's hard to wake up in the dark when the sun doesn't come up until 9 a.m. and then goes back down at 4 in the afternoon. And the further north you go, the more extreme it gets. It's the kind of thing that you can't fully know until you've lived there for at least a year, which is the perfect segue to the most important thing I want to leave you with. The truth is, a lot of people online, especially here on YouTube, portray moving abroad as the perfect utopia. But I have a more realistic view, because I'm not selling you the dream of living abroad in any one country. I'm here for people who have already decided that they want to move abroad to get help doing that. So I'm not going to promise you that your life will be perfect if you move to another country. Just like there's no one perfect country to move to, moving somewhere is not going to fix everything in your life. And in some cases, it can actually create new problems. But I know for many of us, and maybe you feel the same way, the trade-off is still worth it. So now you know the real pros and cons of moving to Europe as an American. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and watch this video next, where I share with you my brutally honest advice for Americans moving to Europe this year.